But this week's guest is an amazing, beautiful woman, brave woman. I chatted with her and I cannot wait for you all to meet her. Her name is Kia Jackson, so I'm going to bring her into our live. She's going to of another one of my Trauma to Triumph ladies, Truly Maxine, who is a recent author. Yes, she is. Hey, Kia.
Hi, it's Kaya.
It's Kaya. See,
Yes.
thank you for correcting me. Thank you. Do a lot of people do that?
Yes, yes.
So I'm not alone.
No, you're not alone. I'm trying to get my volume and everything together.
Kaya, you look amazing.
Thank you.
You really do. You look good. I was worried about my look today because I was like, oh shoot. I was working on some things and then I looked up at the time and I was like, oh my goodness, let me get my hair together. Let me at least throw on some lip gloss or something. Like, so I don't look so crazy. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just came from the gym, so I'm good.
Yay. Yay. Yay to the gym. I didn't just come from the gym, but I'm saying yay. I'm cheering you on. Yes. So what I was saying before I pulled you into the video, I was explaining what this project is all about. And we share our stories, Kaya, of, how we got from being in trauma in our life. And trauma can happen at different points of our lives, right? We can suffer trauma as children, as many of us do. I have stories to tell myself. Actually, I told a lot about myself on last week's episode. So for those of you watching, if you missed it, you should go to the Trauma to Triumph YouTube channel and watch it, because I really I opened up a lot and I had never ever done that before, and it was like a weight lifted off of my shoulders, right? To just get it out and talk about it. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kaya tonight. And I first want you to just start, introduce yourself, and you can really just be brief about like who you are, who is Kaya today, and then we'll get a little bit more into, we'll go back a little bit about what made you and shaped and molded you into who you are today, because I'm sure the beautiful woman sitting in front of us today, you did not get there without some trauma, and that's what we're here to talk about.
Right. Well, thank you for having me, for starters.
Thank you.
And so who am I? Ooh, I'm this mysterious person. No, I am a mother of two grown kids, and I'm a newly empty nester. So that's who I am.
Congrats on
We'll
that.
start with that. That's who I am.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you, albeit virtually. It is very nice to meet you in this manner, and I'm very, very thankful for your yes to be a part of the Trauma to Triumph project. So thank you for that. And let's just get right to it. Let's talk about, take us back down memory lane where you first can think of, you know what, this is when trauma entered my life. Like I said, trauma sometimes can happen when a person is small, born. Some people are born into traumatic situations.
Okay.
So let's talk about Kaya and your journey.
So actually, I didn't even know I was dealing with trauma. I moved to Maryland from Connecticut when I was 23 years old, 23, 24, 24. So I started I want to say my first official job, and it came with benefits. After a couple of months, I'm looking through their benefits package, and I stumbled upon mental health and getting a psychiatrist to talk about things. And, I just entertained this. I passed by it. I want to say it was probably in 96, because I'm a 71 baby. That's my t-shirt, my 71 t-shirt.
Yay.
And I picked up my insurance card and I said, there's something going on with me. I don't like it. I didn't like the way I felt, but I didn't understand why I felt that way, because me growing up from kindergarten to 8th grade, I was a spoiled brat. I had everything. Like my mother made sure we had everything. I went to Catholic school, my sister and I, and we were just around family. Kindergarten, 8th grade. Crack came out, AIDS came out. What family did not have to deal with some part of that during that period?
The crack era, that's when we grew up. because you were 71. I was born in 70. So in the same era.
Exactly. So, like I said, my mother made sure we had everything. But things started changing in my household. And my sister's 4 years older than me. So, I'm the one that's running around like, who are these people? What's going on here? What's going on there? But again, I never paid any attention to it because to me, that was normal. You have, I'll say cousins or, the uncles and the aunts coming and going, coming and going. But my mother was the type of person where she just welcomed everyone. So it was all normal. So fast forward, 96, I'm going to therapy. And I'm thinking my childhood was pretty normal. No, that was not normal.
It was
It was not a normal childhood. Once I got into the 9th grade, my sister graduated high school and the entire house just changed. More people are coming in, and these are like different people. I'm running outside, coming back in, and I'll never forget the first time I came inside and I looked in the pot because no other pot, nothing else on the stove being cooked. So I'm like, what's this being cooked?
in the pot, right?
In the pot. I'm looking, it was a crack. So my mother's like, get out of there. And I'm like, well, what is this? Stay in your place, stay in your lane. This is not for you. Get out of here. Okay.
So in that moment, you didn't know it was crack.
I didn't know it was crack, but I suspected because I saw the valve. I saw what was being boiled. So, I wasn't stupid.
Right.
So I'm looking, and what that did to me was that just turned on a little light that just said, pay attention to what's going on. When I went to therapy, because my sister now moved here, and I started seeing, well, let me stop. I'm living here with my mother and my daughter, and everything is going great, fine, copacetic. My sister moves here. Things shifted. The energy in the house changed. We had different people coming to visit, and I'm like, wait a minute now. I've been living here for 2.5 years, and we haven't had this much activity going on. So, opposed to me talking to my mother first about it, I said, well, maybe it's just me. I'm going to go to therapy and see what this therapist has to tell me about what's happening.
Right.
But I paid attention to when the energy shifted all over again. And at that moment, it brought me back to my childhood. But it didn't bring me back to my childhood for me. It brought me back to my childhood because I have a child. And what I went through, I did not want my child to have to go through.
Right.
But for me, even though when I went back in the 9th grade, I'm still living with my mother. I want to say, I think she lost her job. I'm not 100% certain about that. Because now I'm just like going to school, coming home, just watching what's going on in the house. And I'm talking to a good friend of mine, and, she and I have a girlfriend talking. I'm like, something going on in this house, and I don't want to be here because it's just too many people coming and going, and I don't like it. I don't like the feeling that I felt inside of me because some of these men, I didn't think I should be around those men. I didn't think my sister should have been around those men, but my sister was 4 years older than me. So, at this point, she's grown. I'm the teenager, so I'm looking at me as developing. I'm still a virgin. So the first thing that came to my head was, I'm going to get raped or I'm going to get sold. But still not thinking about it in a traumatic way. My first instinct was to talk to my girlfriend. I was like, hey, we should see if I come live with you. My mother she knew nothing about this. Right. I'm on the phone with somebody else trying to get this all together to just remove myself.
Because you didn't want to be in there anymore.
I did not want to be in there anymore. But I didn't realize I was going through anything traumatic because I'm thinking this is just normal. I want to say maybe not normal activity, but normal behavior for someone to do in my situation.
And when
if
you
it
say your
makes sense.
situation, what do you mean?
Men coming in the house. My mother's getting high. I'm not sure what my sister is doing, but I'm still in high school. I know I need to get out of high school. I need to not get pregnant, because when I was in the 7th grade, one of my girlfriends in the 7th grade had a baby. So I knew we're going to be a virgin for as long as possible, because we don't want any babies in the 7th, 8th, or the 9th grade.
Right.
So, all these things are going on. But for me, I never looked at it as traumatic. I just looked at it as removing myself from every situation, protecting myself.
Right. So while you were in it, you didn't look at it as trauma.
Right.
You were just in it. That was your life.
That was my life. So
now, now you might not have gotten to this part, but when you realized that it was crack, did you say to yourself, "Is my mom using crack? Is she selling crack?"
I asked. I said, "You using crack?" I said, "You smoking crack? You like what's going on with this crack?" And she was like, "Ain't nobody doing no crack in here." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I believed her, because my mother was like this incredible lady. Well, she is an incredible lady, but at that particular time, she took care of 2 kids. We lived, middle class family. Literally, I had everything: color TV.
Right.
I had the jeans. I had everything I wanted. Spoiled brat. I will say I was a spoiled brat.
Right. Sounds like my life growing up.
And I want to say it. I never looked at it as being traumatic. I looked at it as being stressful, because when I moved to this friend's house, things are going on over there, okay. But I want to say I probably was a little rebellious, or probably had a little attitude, because I'm 15 now, almost 16 years old. I'm not living at home with my mother. I'm living with someone else. I'm respecting them. Don't get me wrong. I'm very respectful to who I was with the whole time. But I was just looking at it like, what can I do just to make sure that, 1, I don't get on this lady's nerves and have to get put out the house. 2, have to go back to my own situation, because I don't even know what that situation is.
So your mother was okay with you leaving and going?
She didn't have any other choice at that particular point, because now she's high, so she's not even in her right state of mind.
So she was smoking crack.
She was smoking crack, yes. Yes. And when I left, I felt lost. I had my one aunt, and I want to say we grew up together. But my one aunt, she lived in a different city, which I lived in New Haven. My aunt lived in Bridgeport. So that's probably like, I want to say, a 25, 30-minute drive.
This is in Connecticut?
In Connecticut, yes. Okay. Because I'm still in high school. So she and I were talking all the time, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, but she has her own child. She's establishing her business, but she's 9 years older than me. So she's still a kid. So she's like, what do we do? Wow. So, but again, my mother comes from 13. My father, we're pretty, I want to say,
13 siblings.
My mother, yes, had 13. It was 13 of them. So she was one of 13.
Okay.
But my family in New Haven, pretty prominent family. I mean, everyone knew who we were. Everyone knew who my family was.
Okay.
So I felt like I had to still keep my head up, because I didn't want to have my family looking embarrassed in any way. I still had to keep an image, is what I thought.
Right.
And my grandparents, my father's parents are there. My father, he's kind of in and out here and there, wherever he can be. And
so
wherever he cannot be.
While you were like 15 and leaving your mom's house to go stay with your friend's house, your father was not in the picture?
No. Well, he was around.
Right.
He was around. He didn't live with us. Okay. I knew where to go find him, but he had his own drug issues going on as well. So it was like, my father's here, my mother's here.
Right.
I'm just like, and I want to say, I remember just being angry for a little while, because I was like, why did you let my sister get out of high school? You just gonna wait 4 more years? Oh yeah, it was 4 more years with this one last kid, and you could have did whatever you wanted to do.
But
So for a long time, I was mad at her for that reason.
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But, you know, again, I didn't realize any of this was trauma until 96, because this is maybe 80, 85, 86.
Right. So you were basically just conditioning yourself due to the conditions.
Correct.
You know,
I was making sure that wherever I was adaptable. I can adapt to whatever situation I was in.
right.
I can, you know, be the best housemate, guestmate, whatever, just so that way I didn't get put in the streets, because I didn't want to tell the schools, because my first thought was, if I tell my guidance counselor I'm going to go to foster care, I'm not going in the foster system. So I kept mum's the word.
Right.
Mum's the word.
You did not tell.
I did not tell anyone.
Your mother's house.
Not at all. No one. And I assumed other family members knew, because, I mean, I just assumed that they knew, not necessarily knowing if they knew or not. And they did not know, I suppose.
At that point in your life, though, did you know or understand, like, did you ever have questions? Like, because one of my questions is, like you said, like all of this time, you know, you got my sister through school and all of that, and everything was cool, I'm assuming, with, you know, in your mom's house. And then she developed this, you know, crack habit. Did you ever question, like, Mom, why? Like, did she go through something? Like, what?
I did ask why. And
maybe for someone smoking crack, that's a dumb question. Like, why? Why would you do that? Like, maybe that's a dumb question.
I want to say at the particular time, she probably said later on down the road, it was a lot on her shoulders. And I kind of get it now today.
Right. You get it now today. And that's what I'm wondering. I always, you know, I didn't have a parent on crack, but I had someone, a close family member. And I always wondered why, like, what happens in a person's life that makes them say, and again, maybe I'm being ignorant by saying, you know, like, makes a person be like, okay, I'm going to try this. And then I'm assuming it's so potent that a person try it, and then that's it. It just spirals out of control, right?
Yes, I would say yes. But the only thing I can think of, and just as an assumption, because I've never done crack,
Right.
just as an assumption, but I've been depressed.
Mm-hmm.
So I know when you're in a depressed state, sometimes you'll do anything just to get out of that situation or take you to another
world. You're vulnerable to those types of things. And so when you're in a depressed state, if someone offers you something that might take your mind off of it.
That's the only thing I can think of that happened, and she became addicted to it.
Yeah.
But I kind of just looked at that in the rearview mirror, and I just kept myself going.
Okay. So you stayed with a friend through high school?
No, not at all.
Keep going.
So I lived with them, and then I can't even remember why I had to leave her house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. I do remember why I had to leave the house, but, you know, it was for other reasons why I had to leave the house. But then I went to another family member's house, and the same thing was going on there. But then I'm late for school, and I'm like, I got to find something else to do. I have to figure out what is really going on here, because I'm going to get put out of school, and I need to graduate. I need at least a high school diploma or something.
Right.
I need to get out of this situation. So I remember going around a corner to one of my cousin's house, and it was 3 brothers, father. So I went to them, and I knew the situation probably wasn't a good situation, but I knew that they would protect me. Mm-hmm. And I needed them. I needed protection, you know, because the men, you know, and I'm like, you know, I'm not, at the time, I didn't think I'm the prettiest girl out there, but I knew people knew who my family was. Guys were looking at me, because now I'm developing and anything can happen. I knew I just didn't want to be raped. I didn't want to be with any drug dealer boyfriends. I did not want that particular life, because I knew what that life provided. And that was something I just never wanted. So my cousin was like, get your ass over here. You gonna go to school every day? I had a job, so I was working. When you get off of work, you come straight home from your job. So I was like, okay,
right.
I needed that, and he protected me, you know, and all three of the brothers, they really, you know, took care of me and protected me. But when my cousin and his now wife had a baby, he's no longer there to protect me. And his brothers are younger. So he's like, all right, cuz you're going to have to find somewhere else to live because, you know, I'm getting ready to leave. You know, we're getting married. We had our baby. You can't stay here. Right. So I was devastated. But at the same time, I'm looking at his two brothers and I'm like, but yeah, you're right. You're right. So I had to call an aunt. And I called my aunt. And mind you, these are family members. Like I had a cousin living in this house. My cousin lived directly next door. My cousin that I was living with lived like across the street around the, like not too far away. Mm-hmm. My aunt lived directly around the corner. So these family members are like within a circle. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, none of these people realize what the heck is going on in my life. Like nobody's asking any questions.
Nobody's asking anything. And you're living from house to house. So no one said, you know, like, why are you not going back home to your mother?
Nobody ever said that, which made me feel everybody knew.
They must have knew she was on crack.
And at the same time, I'm like, well, y'all not asking me where my father's at. Don't put everything on my mother. That's how I felt. Don't put everything on my mother because everything is always left on the woman in my mind at that particular age.
Right.
But I didn't have any other choice. So I asked my aunt if I could live with her. She said I could just for a little while. So I was like, okay. I had to call my aunt in Bridgeport. And I had to ask her if I can live with her because at this point I have nowhere else to go. And my aunt and she and I were like thick as thieves. You know, we were more like sisters, mm-hmm. you know, than aunt and niece. So she was like, yep, you come here. So I went to Bridgeport. Now, mind you, I'm still going to school in New Haven. And she asked me, you know, do you want to transfer schools here? And I was like, nope, because I'm be a junior next year. Mm-hmm. If I transfer schools, I'm going to be fighting all the girls. I don't have time to be doing all of this. I'm just trying to get out of school.
Right.
And just do what I need to do to move on. So she said, okay. So I stayed with her for a little while. And every day for about 2 months, I would get up at 5 o'clock every morning, catch the cab to the train station, catch the train to my city. Mm. I would either catch the bus or I would walk to school. Mm. And I did that for like 2 months up until the guidance counselor came and said, Ms. Daniels, after winter break, if you come back to school and you're late, you staying back. I said, you mean like repeat this grade? Like I'm not graduating in 89? I was like, yeah, that's not an option for me. I'm gonna have to figure out something else. So she was like, well, why are you late every day? I was like, because I'm just late every day. Still in my head, I'm thinking I'm being a foster system. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm not going to foster care. So she's like, well, where's your mother at? And I'm like, I got this. I won't be late when I come back. Everything will be copacetic. I'm good. So I went back to Bridgeport and I told my aunt, and I was like, I don't know what to do. What do we do? Like now I'm looking at her like, you the adult.
Right.
Why aren't you telling us what to do? And she's
right.
Like, I don't know what to do. Heck, my mother passed when I was still, pretty young, and I needed her. I don't know what to tell you. So I had to go back to my other aunt, and I had to ask my aunt. I was like, I have my junior year left of high school, and then I have my senior year. I got 2 jobs. Can I just come live with you? So she was like, okay. She was like, and I was at the time, because I have a brother, but he's my father's son. But at the time, as far as we knew, I was the youngest, the baby of my father's family, my generation. So, I kind of held that to everybody. Like, I'm the baby. Y'all supposed to be protecting me. Y'all supposed to be watching out for me. And nobody's here to help me out. I need some help. What do I do? So I went and I lived with my aunt. I worked at 2 jobs. I left school, went to Norfolk State for a half a semester because when I went away to school, still not knowing anything about anything, I'm paying for college for my first semester out of pocket. I'm just like, here go the money, because I worked to do this, but I didn't know that there were further steps ahead. You need a financial aid. You need to talk to. I didn't know any of that stuff because literally I was just dropped off at Norfolk State. and see you bye. My ride went back to Connecticut. That was it.
Wow.
So
So you really raised yourself in high school from like ninth grade on.
pretty much, pretty much. And,
Mhm.
you know, when I went to counseling, she was like, my first counselor, she said, usually children don't think about, I need to go stay somewhere because I might get raped, or, you know, I need to find somewhere to put my, you know, lay my head down so I can get to school. She said, they're typically not thinking of that. And I said, well, this was all I knew. Again, I came from a pretty middle class family. I had color TVs. I had the Jordashes. You know, I had all of those material things. And although my father wasn't there, I had my family.
Right.
And
Right.
then in a split second, it all just
It all changed.
left. It just left. And
Wow.
it was hard, but I needed to figure out why, since my sister lived here, am I now angry? So I want to say, I'm not 100% certain, but my sister friends just were street guys. And I'm like, well, I've been here for 2 years. I haven't met anybody except the people I work with. How you move here in a few months? You met the freaking corner dudes.
Right.
It's not good. So I had to say to my mother, because I was like, I'm not having the conversation with my sister. But I had to say to my mother, if my sister stays here, my daughter and I cannot. Because I'm not going to allow her to go through what I went through.
What you went through.
I felt like I was brave. I felt like I was, you know, just doing what someone should have done for me, but I advocated for myself, but I had to advocate for my daughter. So, you know, we had like a little family meeting. Everything got a little, I guess, together.
Mm-hmm.
But once things started getting haywire, I said, you know, let me just pick up and remove myself from the situation, which is what I know how to do.
Right.
I'll sort it out in my head, but let me remove myself from all of this. And the whole time I'm like, it can't be a God. It just cannot be a God, because if there was really a God, there's no way in the world I would be going through this in my head,
Right.
because I did not know. And when you have everything, and then you have nothing, it'll humble you a whole lot. But at the same time, to me, it leaves a lot of anger in you, a whole lot of anger. And
Resentment.
I wasn't really resentful. I was really angry.
Angry.
Like,
Okay.
I had a very sharp tongue. You know, I didn't care about hurting people and you know, talking to them, because I was hurt. You know, I didn't care about, I wasn't disrespectful, but I just didn't care about being brutally honest. And however it had to come out, it just came out. I'm like, well, you grown, so you should be able to handle it. I've handled it since I was 14, 15 years old. Why are you 30 and 40
Yeah.
and you can't handle it? So that's how I just always, that's how
But your teenage years warranted the anger to me. You know what I
yes,
mean? Like,
yes.
you were becoming this angry person, and I feel like it wasn't even your fault. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right. And I want to say that was, you know, kind of the childhood thing. And I got over it because you know, I looked at my mother. She got herself clean. My
Oh,
father, he
I
got
was gonna
himself
ask
clean.
about that. She did.
Yeah, my father, he got himself clean. And, you know, I looked at that. They got to see their grandkids, and they loved them to death. We never actually had the conversations about it, but we had the conversation. It was like unspoken conversations, you know, little said here and there. Um, but I loved them. You know, I moved on from being angry with them
Hmm. Good.
to kind of understanding life is hard.
Yeah.
And at that particular moment, we do things that we feel to help us out. However, we need to cope at that particular time
Hmm.
is what we need to do. I mean, some people just pick up the wrong things to do it, or some people just listen to the wrong people to help them, you know, because not everyone is there to help you.
So true.
So
True.
I want to say, after doing the therapy, now I get married. That was a little tough because I have this, I had this anger in me still.
So did the therapy curb the anger or no?
It curbed it, but I still wasn't understanding why I was so angry.
So
I
the
went to therapy.
therapy is when you first started just, I guess, looking back at your upbringing.
Correct.
It made you look at it,
Right.
but not necessarily were you weren't really attacking or healing the wound, because like you said, you were still really, really angry.
And I was still like just going through the motion. Like I remember when my ex-husband and I, we were riding one day and we were talking about being in love. And I was like I can't give you 100% of me. And he was like, what you mean? And I was like, I can't love you 100%. And he was like, why not? I said, I don't even know what that is. Like, I don't know what that is. I didn't have family members that were married. I don't even know what marriage is. Like, a relationship to me is like, I mean, it's
We
a relationship, but the relationships I've seen, the women and the men, they arguing all the time. It wasn't nothing that was natural. It didn't seem loving.
So you didn't have an example.
I did not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the one example I did have was a coworker of mine. Sweet as can be. But, that was the only example that I had. But I did get married. I mean,
So you did give it a try, and I heard you say divorce. So I mean, I can conclude that it didn't work.
yeah, I mean, we were married for 10 years. I wound up getting pregnant. I had a son. So the trauma kicked in again because now we're trying to get pregnant. And my daughter, she's 11. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if I want any more kids now. I did this once, and it was, turned out all right. I think she's okay.
Right.
And he was like, okay, but I want a child. And I was like, I'm going to have to get in this church thing because I got to figure out what my role is in this relationship. So we wound up doing fertility.
Okay.
And the fertility kind of brought about a whole bunch of different feelings, and it brought back a lot of childhood feelings. And with that trauma, I had nobody to talk to again. I felt like I was all by myself all over again.
Right.
Even at the clinic, Black women were not talking about being infertile, doing fertility. It was like a hush hush taboo. Like, you can't have no babies. What's wrong with you?
Right. Right. Back then, yeah. It's more prominent now.
Right.
But not.
I mean, not, and it's a whole bunch of white women in there younger than, I'm thinking I'm 30. These white women are 20 years old. And I'm like, well, these heifers been going through it for a long time. Why aren't we talking about this?
Right.
But I had nobody to talk to. Even my family, when I was talking to them, they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. The emotions, and all I had was my daughter, like, you were mean. You're very mean. So I'm trying to deal with her. And at that moment, my mother clicked in my head. And I'm like, I understand without understanding the stress of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because as a woman, you're going through so much. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And the first time it didn't happen, we had to do 2 trials. The first time we found out 9/11. I got the phone call from the doctor, and they were like, yeah, you're not pregnant. And part of me was like, oh, thank God. Whew. Okay, great. But then I had to think about going home to tell my husband.
Right. Because he really wanted that.
And I was just like, oh, okay. Started counseling again, and we kind of picked up because I had stopped counseling.
Okay.
And I knew, the one thing I knew with counseling that I was not doing was I had to be honest with my counselor, because your counselor can only help you as honest as you are about what's really going on in your life.
That part.
And I was conveying part of the story opposed to opening up. And I felt judged by opening up because I didn't know. Like, you know, all I had was my aunt, really. Like my aunt, we were on the phone all day, every day. Like, I don't know what to do. And
Right.
she's like, for me either. And well, let's figure this out. You know, she was my ace cool boom.
Bless her
But,
heart.
you know, I didn't know what else to do. And then, you know, when she had a situation with her daughter, so now her daughter's here. Well, let me go back. I get pregnant. I have a son.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is, I guess, going okay. We get divorced. My cousin is here and she's helping out. And, you know, to help family out, it was like I felt what I needed to do, but I couldn't understand why my family didn't help me out. So
That's tough.
that part was a little hard.
That's hard.
So
It's okay.
but, you know, life goes on and you move on.
You are a strong lady. I'm just sitting here reflecting on everything. Keep going.
So, you know, once we got divorced and everything, it was still in me to just make, you know, everybody has, your family's all that you have. You don't choose them, but they're all that you have.
What you have.
And my family is so broken that, you know, fast forwarding now, when I look back, and I went to, I changed counselors and I went to a chaplain. He was a chaplain at the church that I was going to, and my daughter had gone to him. I had tried counseling with him when I was married. It didn't work. So I said, you know what? Let me go back for me. And I'm a mental person. I have to mentally prepare for everything. Even tonight, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this show. But I'm a mental person. So I had decided in November of 2019, I was going to start counseling again. But I wrote a letter to myself, and I was honest with everything. And I was like, all right, let me give this to this chaplain. I was like, all right, chap, I want to come back in January. Here it is. So I wrote a letter. I did an open letter to myself. And I just listed everything out. And he helped me peel all those layers of onions. And when the pandemic hit, I was on a different level of letting go of things. Like my aunt, my favorite aunt, she called me because she's at home by herself. And every day, like, she's going crazy in the house, and I know it. But we got COVID. So I'm like FaceTiming her like every day. I'm trying to do everything, and we're talking. But she was like COVID TV. I think if she had 10 TVs in the house, all 10 of them was on a different station. Because she was trying to figure out what was going on, and she was trying to figure out why we wasn't doing what we should have been doing.
Right.
So we're laughing, and I'm like, Auntie, everything's gonna be all right. Calm down. Like, stop watching TV. But at home, I was meditating every single day, all day long. Meditating. And then I had my homegirl Carla. She was going through her stuff, and I'm like, you know what, hold up, we're gonna figure all of this out. We're gonna get through all of this. But when I was so open with my counselor, and I tell everybody, if you're going to therapy, your therapist can only be as helpful as you are honest with yourself.
Yeah.
When you have to look in that mirror, you have to look in that mirror and love that person in that mirror, because you might not have nobody. You might not have your family. Your family might love you, but they don't know how because they're dealing with their own trauma.
Right.
And they don't know how to deal with it without dealing with it. Like I tell my cousin, if you don't like people, just don't deal with them. I mean, you don't have to deal with anybody. You don't have to deal with everybody. But now, like, I meditate all day long. I pray all day long. I'm not, holier than thou because I'm a sinner.
We all are.
But I'm just, I'm sitting up here saying that, but I know I'm a sinner. But I start my day with prayer and meditation. I end my day with prayer and meditation.
Yes. Yes.
I journal.
Start it and end it.
I talk to my friends. Like I'm with them. Like, I mean, I'm blunt with what I say, but I come from love. Like, I have my family. We have a group chat. What do we have a group chat for if y'all aren't going to chat? My sister said just yesterday, how are we trying to put a family reunion together if we can't even say hello?
Amen to that.
Like, how are you going to defend one family member when everybody has issues? Like, we all have trauma. We all have to work through it. And, now at 51, I realize my family, they may love me, but they may not have been there back then because they were going through their own trauma.
Their own stuff.
So I had to, really learn to forgive them. And just like, when I tell my aunt, don't worry about what somebody else is going through unless you can really help them. You can talk to them, but don't insert yourself too much into too many other people's lives because guess what? It's going to take a whole day to figure yours out.
Ain't that the truth?
And like when I'm talking to young girls, even my daughter, I have to say, let me think at their age. What was I doing at their age? Because they're not our age. These young girls not our age because they're not going to think like us.
That's right.
So I had to start thinking, all right, my daughter's 31. All right, let me think. When I was 31, child, I was married. So, I always tell my daughter when I was that age, I can't remember some of the things or I can't tell you how to parent. I can just tell you how I parent you because I didn't have a parent at that time.
Right.
So the times when I felt like I needed the parent, I didn't have parents, but I had a lot of people showing me what not to do. Or they didn't realize they were showing me what not to do, but I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to do that. Like I said, I had a girlfriend, she got pregnant in 7th grade. I was like, yeah, I don't think I want to have sex.
Do that.
If sex is going to give you that baby in the 7th grade,
no thanks.
I don't want no parts of that. Crack, to me, I never did crack. Call me vain, but I wanted all 52 of mine.
I know.
Everybody on crack, so was missing a tooth.
Ain't that something? And the ones that I remember that wasn't missing a tooth, their teeth weren't all the way missing, but it was always something going on with them teeth. If they still had the teeth, it was brown with holes and stuff.
It was chipped. It was just not right. And I said,
I don't want to do crack either then.
I don't want to do no crack. But, I've come to think of myself as a stronger person.
Because of what you went through.
Because, and I feel like just the other day, I was like, God, you was kind of preparing me back then.
Yep. Isn't it funny how we can look at that now? We look back and be like, Lord, so when I went through this, that, and the other, and yes, thank God you brought me through, but you was preparing me for a later time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And even during my divorce, I was depressed. I was damn near suicidal during my divorce. And it wasn't the divorce because I grieved before we got divorced.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't had no money and I had to go live back with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
That right there?
That's traumatic.
That was, I wrote a lot of poetry that helped me get through it. And I'm gonna wrap this up because the other day in my phone I had put write in your journal, and then I said your July horoscope said on this day changes were gonna happen, but my dumb ass, excuse me for cursing.
Oh no, it's fine. I cuss.
But my dumb ass couldn't remember. what my horoscope was. So I'm going through the horoscope and I'm looking for July 3rd. Like, what did it say for a Taurus? I can't find it. But what I did find was.
Did you say July 3rd?
July 3rd was the date that I wrote to write in my journal, October 25th.
Because July 3rd is my birthday. So I was like, wait.
Did you shut the front door? Yeah, that's what I wrote it. Wow. July 3rd, because I read my horoscope and it says some changes are going to happen October 25th.
Wow.
So I had wrote in my journal. I wrote a note every day. I got to write in my journal. So I couldn't remember what the heck the changes were supposed to be, though.
Wow.
So I looked in my notebook, and October 20th, 2009, I wrote in my journal, and I got divorced. I left our house June the 25th because our anniversary was May the 29th. My daughter graduated high school on her birthday, which was June 5th. But he told me the week before her birthday, he couldn't do this anymore. So I was like, oh, all right. That's cool.
Me neither.
I'm going to have her graduation on next week. Mm-hmm. So we ain't got no problems. Went to the courthouse. I said, hey, yo, I took that $125 out your account so we can get this divorce.
That's the filing fee. Yep.
And I'm going to be out of here June 25th. And he was like, well, where do you get that date from? I said, I don't know. It just sounded like a good day to me. So that's what day we're going to do this. So, but I had wrote in my journal then that I was struggling. I was paying for my daughter to go to college. I didn't want her to drop out of college. I'm living with my mother, and I'm suicidal. Mm-hmm. So when I wrote in my journal and I'm reading back, I sent the note to my daughter, and I was like, Taylor, guess what? We got through this. It's for real. Like, I wrote it. We got through this. Yeah. Like, for real. Okay, I just wanted you, and I told her everything that happened. And I was like, but we got through this. Like, keep praying, keep meditating. Like, it works. It works. It works. It works. And if you can let go of that anger, but we got to let go of the anger of the past, because I realized what my parents went through, I don't know what they were going through.
Yeah.
So the only thing I could do is forgive them and move on, because if they don't want to deal with it, I can't force them to deal with their issues.
The forgiveness is for you.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I can't have them, but I do know, I know how close to get to them.
Yeah.
And I know how to pull myself back from everything and everybody.
You're protecting your space now better.
Yeah.
And I see that just in the conversation that we've had. So your trauma took you through so much, and you conditioned yourself so much that you didn't even know when you were in trauma that that's what it was.
Exactly.
But you see how things evolve, and you see how life works, because once you started going to therapy, you finally started to look at it. Once you start to look at those things, albeit maybe painful, it allows you an opportunity to deal with it.
Right.
And once you deal with it, you can heal from it. And then once you heal from it, it's like you said, I got through it. That's the triumph. I got through it. You did not commit suicide. You did not lose your life, your children. You reconciled to, like you say, to a certain point with your parents. Like, all of that is triumph.
Right.
And for that, we thank God.
Absolutely.
Thank God. And we've had some amazing comments on here. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to all of the comments, y'all, but there is one that I wanted to go back to, Kaya. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, being the fixer is overwhelming, and healing is hard work. That's one of the comments that I don't know how to pen these types of comments because I'm not that tech savvy. But yes, that part right there, being a fixer is overwhelming. And that's what, a lot of your story was about. A lot of mine is about being a fixer and how overwhelming that can be on us. And healing is hard work, but it's such necessary work.
It is.
It's necessary. And then at the end of it, it's worth it. You know what I mean? It's worth it. And then you feel liberating and free. You know, was this conversation, did it make you feel like, whew, I got through that?
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Sorry, yes. I could feel that, girl. I could feel that. Like I could feel it at a point, like when we were talking, that when you said I had to get myself ready for this. Not only were you ready for it, you stepped right into it. And like I told you, I was like, it flowed, because when you start telling your story, it's liberating.
Right, right.
Like I started on that last Tuesday for myself, and I talked about my tumultuous divorce, my first husband. And it was some things that I said that I had never said in front of people before. I remember when I was talking about it, I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, who's going to be hearing this? Who's going to look at me differently? Even though that's like 30 some years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you, once it was over, I felt like, whew.
Right, right.
Right. Don't you feel like that? Whew.
Right. You know, I want to say I had another moment. It wasn't a trauma moment. After my 50th birthday, my son and I, we were driving to Virginia Beach, and he said, I think I'm going to the Air Force. When I tell you, it was like the weight of the world lifted off my shoulders. I said, boy, I done been reborn. Oh, good Lord, thank you.
Yes.
I felt like literally that day, I felt like I was reborn, because I knew he was going to be in good hands. My daughter's grown with her own child. I was like, you know what? Like, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can start living my life with the purpose. That's how
Mm.
I felt. Whatever that purpose is. And I feel like everyone's purpose on this earth is to be of service to someone.
Yes.
It's not necessarily to the people who you're giving to,
Nope.
because those people might not be able to give it to you the way that you need it, but it's to be of service to those that need it.
Absolutely. We are here to serve, okay? To those who need it. And God lets us know in different ways, what our purpose is. We just have to be open to hearing it and then stepping into it.
Right.
So
Thank you.
I want to thank you for being so brave and strong and candid and open. I really, really, really am grateful for your yes. So thank you so much, Kaya. And
You're welcome. Thank you.
um, you are a part of the Trauma to Triumph project now. So we got other stuff to do. We got conferences to attend. We've got stuff to do, girl. So just know this is not the end of it. Okay. This is just the beginning. And for those, yes, for those of you watching, let me say thank you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Every week we have an amazing story. And I've got some amazing stories lined up for these Tuesdays to come. I do want to continue to be able to go into the filming studio to continue filming in the studio. So let me thank you all again for the donations that you have sent in, and for the donations that are to come, because I'm claiming things like that. I manifest things. So keep in mind that no donation is too small. $5. Listen, it's gonna make me go ooh ooh, just as easy as it would if it was 500, right? So thank you all so much. My website, you can go directly to the website to either sign up to tell your story if you have gone through trauma and you would like to tell your story. You can also use the website to make donations. I made it easy so that you can go right to my website, www.trauma2Triumph.com. And I love your feedback on my website. It's new. Go through it and tell me what you think. Tell me what you'd like to see on there. Eventually, with enough donations, I'll be able to invest in some merchandise. And my Trauma to Triumph ladies, we'll be able to have some nice thank you appreciation gifts. So it's a lot of things that I want to do to make this docu-series and this mission as amazing as I know it can be. So I just want to say thanks again to everybody. I'm about to end this. It's going to be up on my YouTube channel probably in about an hour, but you can still go back and watch this live feed on Instagram at any time. So thank you all so much. Don't forget about the website. And don't forget to tell people about this mission. We are going to heal millions of people through the sharing of our stories. So don't forget to spread the word and send more people, send more stories. And if you know Oprah, tell her about it, okay?
Right.
Whoever out there that might know Oprah, tell her about this. We need this on the OWN network, and we need Oprah to tell her story too. So whoever know Oprah, tell her about us. And y'all, we will be back again next Tuesday, same time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Kaya.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, y'all.